Right before I left on this trip this winter, I did a multi-day juice cleanse. Um, Not necessarily for any particular reason, but I just wanted to try it. I'm curious about all sorts of things, so I decided to do this thing. Um, that experience is a whole nother story in and of itself. Had some pretty terrible moments there as my system got rid of a number of things that I'm sure were polluting my liver, my kidneys, whatever. But one of the outcomes was I was able to really detox needing the level of caffeine in my life that I had kind of built up to having. And since that time, I am, drinking little to no caffeine. Now, as you can imagine, in this part of the world, this is like where all the coffee comes from, this part of the world. Coffee's a thing here. Decaf coffee is not. I love coffee, and yet, not for any particular reason, I just decided not to go back to filling my body with caffeine the way that I had before, religiously, every single day. Not just coffee in the morning, but I always had unsweetened iced tea in my refrigerator, a staple. Like I probably drank more of that than I drank of water or anything else. So, okay, I was curious how that was going to play out on this trip. And, I had been counting like how many days, how many weeks, how many months it had been since I'd had any caffeine. And, as we do. And then this one morning, I was having breakfast at the cafe of a new friend, Jairo, who I had met in Nicaragua, another beautiful story for another time. And we were just chatting, and I was watching him, prepare orders for other people who were at this little cafe that he owned. And we're just, talking about whatever. And he starts making a coffee drink, a really strong coffee, in a traditional mocha pot, MOKA, which I first became aware of when I was in Europe. And I looked at him and I said, wow, oh man, boy, do I miss coffee. It's been, I don't know, 43 and a half days or whatever I said, how long it had been. And he sort of chuckled and he said, something to think about though, is when you turn the deprivation of something into a competition, into something that you're measuring by hours or days or weeks, you really feel that sense of deprivation. And likely because of feeling that loss, even if you don't go back to the thing, you will likely just replace it with something else so that you don't feel the loss because you've made it special. And I just looked at him and I was like, Jairo, my guru, this is just not a way that I had thought about things. But he's right, There's so many things that it's not that we're intending to deprive ourselves of things in our life. And maybe it's not caffeine or, food or, maybe it's not something that visceral, but maybe we're deciding that, we need to have less, social media, or we need to sit around less, or, there's a million different things that we try to take away from our lives. And it's very well-meaning. But the way that we do it comes from a place of scarcity. We make the thing special. And so by losing it, by not having it, we focus on it. And when we focus on it, it feels kind of icky, and it feels like this challenge, and it feels like this competition for how long can we withstand us depriving ourselves of this thing that we've made special. And it was just such a good reminder that whatever those things are that you are cutting out of your life, and honestly, it could be toxic people. It could be an environment that just doesn't feel healthy and nourishing and supporting of you and who you are. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be caffeine. When we make it special, and when we start patting ourselves on the back for how long we've been able to power through withholding that from ourselves, it just makes it all the harder to really let it go. And we will artificially fill it with something that's maybe just as bad, if not worse, so that we can feel that comfort, so that we don't have to feel that discomfort of losing or being deprived of that thing. Where if we didn't make it special and we really just released it, what we've really made room for is for that void to be filled with something that comes to us naturally, that flows to us, that's nourishing for us, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Just something to think about while you're sipping your morning coffee.